Okay, we are live on LinkedIn. I'm joined by my friend and the co-founder of Ogee, Alex Stark. So Alex, let's get right into it. Give us a background on how you started Ogee, how you've managed to stand out in a saturated industry as well.
Sure. Hey, Adam, thanks for having me on here. So Ogee is a luxury certified organic skincare company, and I started with myself and two other people. One came from a luxury fashion background. He owned a fashion company before, so he had the design eye and branding really nailed down, and also business sense from that. And my other partner and brother actually had worked at a contract manufacturer for skincare for 12 years, developing some of the formulas for some of the biggest skincare companies in the world. And I had a strong operations and logistics background. So we kind of combined our knowledges and said, let's start a skincare company. But the trend with skincare is clean beauty, but not just because it's been said that up to 60% of what you put onto your skin is absorbed into your body. And like with the food trends, everybody's going towards organics and sees the importance of it, and it's catching up with skincare. And so there's a lot of trickery in the skincare industry. People saying their products are clean and healthy, but they're not. So we wanted a product that's certified organic, certified to be safe, and also a product that's effective and with a luxury design. Because a lot of the organic products out there have this kind of, brown, neutral, hippie-ish, granola type color schemes. Yeah. And they smell like patchouli and they don't work well. So we wanted to get luxury positioning, competing with luxury synthetic brands that also are effective and feel as good as these like chemical brands that might be doing long-term damage to your body.
Interesting. Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying as well about the luxury premium type appeal of the products. My mum also works for Ghislaine as well, so well familiar with how many chemicals are in the products. Yeah. Did you actually have a background in e-commerce, or was this just a completely new industry for you?
It was a completely new industry for me. I came from actually shipping. I drove and managed crews on large cargo ships around the world. So it was totally different, but that's been a cool experience with this, is that you can completely change what you're doing and become good at it. Like if you just put the time in, it took time to learn Shopify and digital marketing and all this stuff, but you can be as good as anyone else in it as if you just put the time in, and you have to figure it out. And that's kind of like anything with being a business owner and being successful in life in general, is like, you just keep moving forward. Like if you don't know how to do something, like you just have to figure it out. And like, it's overwhelming in the beginning with a business, like all these things you don't know, but then you're like, well, I just got to figure this out, and you find a way to do it. And so yeah, it's been a great learning experience.
Yeah, I remember I was looking at Oliver Cookson, who started My Protein. Actually, he made a post on LinkedIn the other day, and he was saying about just learning how to do everything in those initial first 6 months, so that then you can hire people and train them to do it the way you want to.
Exactly, and that's been something I've learned over and over again, is like, I need to know the things at least well enough to know if people we hire are doing a good job at it. In the beginning, we didn't know, and we had people that were doing digital marketing for us or other areas of business that we're like, okay, this person's an expert, so we just need to go with what they say. But then as I learned more, I was like, wait, this person's not doing a good job. And like that's hit me multiple times, where you get dazzled with like their website or the clients they've worked with, and you're like, well, they're an expert, so I'm going to believe everything they say. But then as you learn more, you realize they're not doing a great job. And so it's been really fundamental to like at least learn enough about each thing that we're hiring people for to know if they're doing a good job or not.
Yeah, we'll get into a bit later as well on red flags when hiring freelancers and agencies. I definitely want to pick your brains on that. Do you ever get captured by any pirates when you were on these ships?
I actually did. I feel like you must know about that. I got 2 times in West Africa for ransoms.
So these are not the classic Somalian pirates then, if it's West Africa, right?
No, they're not the classic Somali pirates. They were actually our own crew members. So it was more of a mutiny for money. They took over the ship 2 different times to get money from our company. And it happened a second time because the first time we paid them the money. So then we fired everyone, of course, but in West Africa, like no one got arrested for this hostage taking. So word then spreads around Angola that this company, all you have to do is hold them hostage with fire axes that are around the ship and they'll give you a lot of money. So I'm not dealing with pirates anymore, but I would say owning a business may be equally as stressful at times as that, to be honest. Not life or death, but it feels like it sometimes.
Don't want to go off on a tangent completely, but I think I remember reading somewhere that the capital city of Angola is the most expensive place for an expat to live in the world. Why is that?
Because it's all oil and gas there and minerals. And so I think they know that they can charge it because we all have to be there. It is incredibly expensive. I remember like apples there would be like $8 for an apple or something. And you have no choice to pay it. Like if you don't want to pay for the $700 a night hotel, like you don't want to see the other option. Like there is no other option. That's it. They've got you there. They can charge you whatever you want.
Wow. Seen Peter's our good friend Peter just left a comment, said you held the crew members hostage and demands the pay rise. I think that's where Alex actually got the money for Ogee as well. It must have came from these crews.
I got him back. Yeah, that's right. I did. Turn of events that I don't talk about often.
So anyway, going back to Ogee for a minute. Obviously, it's a very, very saturated industry. How have you managed to gain leverage and at least get the ball rolling in the beginning? It must have been very difficult.
We knew we had to have that point of difference, like I said, about we had to stand behind our values of being certified organic and have something backing us up saying we're safe and we are and effective. And for the branding, we started the company, and honestly, we made a huge pivot in our design and stuff because it wasn't where we wanted it to be or needed it to be in the luxury market. So in the beginning, we knew we needed these point of differences, and we just got started with it. I think that's what you need to do is just get started somewhere and be willing to make quick pivots if you see that like those points of difference aren't there enough or they're not strong enough. So we did that, and we like early on we were on a custom website platform, and we realized that hey, this isn't working. This is like we want to be a e-commerce business that sells skincare. Like we want to be a digital technology company. Like we need to be using the cutting edge software and website tools. So we just got started, which I think you need to do, but then we made a lot of quick pivots to get to where we are.
That probably leads us nicely onto the next question, which is obviously you're on Shopify now. Was this a transition because you started off on, did you say, a custom coded solution and then you realized that you needed a better alternative?
Yeah, big time. We got talked into, like I said, that's the problem when you start a company is trusting everybody who you think is an expert. And they talked us into this custom platform, and it was a nightmare. Like it took forever to build it. Nothing worked correctly. Every time you needed to add a simple feature, it took months and a ton of money, and it still didn't work correctly. Where with Shopify, like they've thought of all those things. And if you need something else, like you just add like a $10 a month app and it handles it. Where if you have a totally custom site on a custom platform, like if you need some special button, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars and take like months, and then it's not going to work correctly. So Shopify integrates with everything out there, like fulfillment centers, like all these things we didn't think of in the beginning. Klaviyo, like all these things you totally need. Like Shopify is built for that. It integrates with everything.
Yeah, I think I was speaking to Ronak, who's the CEO of Ogee last week, and I think that in a nutshell, Shopify just makes it easy to sell, which is why I think it's consolidated as the market leader for e-commerce.
Yeah, it has all the things you need, and they've also like done a ton of split testing and conversion rate optimization already. So like their checkout, like they've tested that, billions of dollars have gone through their checkout, and they've run a lot of conversion rate optimization things. So you can kind of just trust that that's best practice how they have it with a lot of things. Where if you do a totally custom site, you're just making a bunch of educated or maybe uneducated guesses of what you think is best.
Yeah, definitely, that's true. Have you looked into Shopify Plus at all and considered it the investment?
We are on Shopify Plus, actually.
Oh,
And I think it has some good features, some really good features actually that we utilize. But I think a big thing is that if you're doing a lot of e-commerce business, like an hour of downtime is a lot of money, like especially during busy times of the year. And just Shopify Plus support is really good. Like if you need someone 24 hours a day, like they're going to help you much faster than Shopify regular support. So if you factor in how much more quickly they can alleviate downtime, like the expense of Shopify Plus doesn't seem that great. And also their credit card processing fees, I think, are less, which makes up for a lot of the costs as well. So I do recommend Shopify Plus once you get over a certain revenue number, I would say.
yeah, absolutely. And obviously, guys, if you have any questions, if anyone's watching, just throw them in and me and Alex will answer them, or Alex, I suppose. Samuel says, yes, so happy that we started on Shopify. Sticking on the subject of Shopify for a moment, and obviously talking about expenses and plugins and apps, it can spiral out of control if it's not kept under a tight leash. And obviously, making sure that you get an ROI and you don't get carried away is crucial. Like, what are some of the core plugins and apps that you have for your store that you couldn't live without? And what do you recommend as well to new people who might get a bit carried away? What are the core functional plugins that you need that you should focus on?
Yeah, that's a good point. We got totally carried away in the beginning with Shopify because it's so easy to add these apps and a lot of them are free or so inexpensive, but you need to make sure you really need that app and that you've chosen the right one, because they do slow your site down and they can cause problems just adding in apps. So basically we started with way more apps than we have now. Like we basically, like Hannah from my team is on here and she manages our whole website now. And like she's many times we've pared down the apps we've had and cleaned it up, and then you have to erase the code as well that they leave behind, because otherwise they'll continue to slow our site down. Yeah. So it's really crucial to not just add a bunch of apps, because it's really, they look cool and it seems fun to do it, but it's a bad idea. So I would say the core apps, like you need to have an upsell cross-sell app. We use Nosto, which is really good. That does AI powered upsells and cross-sells, like in the floating shopping cart or the flyout cart, and across our website, they put in different carousels, and that has worked really well. And it has really good analytics on it. It's an expensive app, but there's other ones that do similar stuff to that, that do upsell, cross-sell. So that's a key one for sure. A loyalty program, which Hannah on my team also manages that completely and has done a great job with that. We use Swell, which has a lot of customization options. Again, that's a more expensive app, but I would definitely recommend a loyalty app of some kind. A review app is crucial. Obviously, people need to see the star ratings of the products and see people talking about the products. So that is crucial. I think those three, cross-sell, upsell app, loyalty, star review app, like those are the absolute must-haves for sure. And then outside of that, I would add them others very carefully. I mean, obviously you need like the plugins like Klaviyo and those types for the external softwares you're working with.
Yeah. Charlotte's got a good question actually, and I've seen this asked a lot recently in some conversations. At which point in revenue would you look at Plus?
Well, I guess I would do it on two factors. I can't quite remember like the difference in pricing, but I would look at the difference in credit card processing fees for Shopify Plus versus Shopify and see at what point it makes sense just based on the credit card fees, where Shopify Plus is then a better value because of the money it's saving you. And then the other part I would look at is how much an average 24 hours of downtime would cost you, and say like, okay, if Shopify Plus can save us 24 hours of downtime for every 3 months or every 6 months or whatever, then factor that into the decision as well.
Interesting. Let's talk a little bit about marketing strategies. I know you do a lot of Facebook ads. Give us like an overview of all the stuff that you have going on, what's been most effective, and also what's been least effective as well, which you hadn't put so much time into.
Yeah. Well, what's been most effective for sure with Facebook ads is running ads to cold traffic. So when we say Facebook, we're talking about Facebook and Instagram ads. They're all controlled by the Facebook Business Manager platform. But running ads to cold traffic that lead them to like a pre-sale page essentially, or a blog type page that kind of warms up the people that haven't heard of your brand to the product you're selling them with, where you can give them more information, because the goal of an ad is to look relevant and then bring them to your website. But a lot of times the problem with that, if they've never heard of the brand or the product, you bring them to a product page, which you can't put enough information on, where if you bring them to like a pre-sale landing page, you can give them a lot more information, a lot more facts about the product, customer testimonials, PR testimonials. The landing page was huge. The landing page in between the product page was a game changer for us. And I think what I wish I didn't put so much time is with Facebook and Instagram ads, you see a lot of noise of a lot of gurus out there saying like, you got to try this, you got to do this, like don't optimize for conversions, optimize for traffic, and you won't get the return today, but in 6 months you'll have all these people in your funnel. But like that's all these like crazy guru tactics, like almost the majority don't work, and you'll spend a lot of money, a lot of time, and they'll post screenshots and stuff sometimes, but like you have to filter out a lot of noise and advertise and know the people. Like if you're in Facebook group talking about ads, they can be really helpful, but you need to know the people in those groups that have good information and know who to like listen to, and then ignore everything else.
We'll come on to that again towards the end of this live, because I want to talk to you about red flags with gurus and freelancers and agencies as well. This is a good question, actually, just to go off and back to Shopify before we move on from that. Is there any disadvantages with Shopify? Because I know we can fall into the trap of just raving about it, but there is some disadvantages as well, right?
I think a disadvantage would be if your site looks like every other site out there. And that was, when we got sold a custom platform early on, part of it was like that you can't customize your Shopify site, which isn't true at all. Like we use Rainy City Marketing, and they transferred our site from this custom platform to Shopify and made it look very custom, made it look like beautiful. They did a great job with it. And so we got the custom looking site still on Shopify. So like you just don't want to use the most generic out of the box thing that every other Shopify site that uses a generic out of the box theme looks like, which is easy to achieve that. So I'd say that would be the main disadvantage, is if your site looks like everyone else. But to be honest, like Shopify, that was like one of the best decisions we made for Ogee early on. Like I can't recommend highly enough switching to Shopify, and also to tell you how many problems it's gonna save you from. Like fulfillment center, all these things. If you don't have Shopify, for sure the one site platform they will integrate with is Shopify. Everything else, it might not, and you'll have to pay a lot of money to connect that with other services or platforms if it's not Shopify.
Yeah, I suppose it's the market leader for a reason. Again, it just goes back to simplicity and just keeping things simple and not trying to reinvent the wheel all the time. Samuel,
it's like the Apple of websites. Like it's like this one piece of thing that just works really well, and they've and finessed it to be great.
I agree, completely agree. Alex, what social media platform have you had the most success with driving traffic and sales to your website?
Well, for paid advertising, definitely Facebook and Instagram ads. We've tried everything else, Snapchat, Pinterest, Twitter, TikTok. Yeah. And for paid traffic, nothing has compared to Facebook and Instagram ads. I want something else too, because I want to diversify like ad spending away from Facebook and Instagram, but for sure nothing can do it as well as Facebook and Instagram ads right now. I do think that TikTok has a huge potential. We're actually putting a lot of time and effort into getting more organic reach on like TikTok specifically, and reaching out to influencers and people to try our products and post about us. So organically, I think TikTok has huge potential, and organic reach like on our Instagram. Our Instagram looks really good, and we've gotten a lot of good influencers and people sharing about our products on Instagram. So I think organically Instagram has been the best for us, and I think TikTok will be really big for us.
Are you not worried at all about, obviously there seems to be a lot riding on Facebook and Instagram ads, and it is a powerful lever for your business, but do you not worry that you might become too dependent on them as well?
Well, yeah, I'm worried about that, which is why, like, you know, just this morning I was working hard on doing more lead generation campaigns on Facebook, because email has been the one that has like stayed the test of time. Like, it's like email is still like hugely powerful. Yeah, to your success. And a big part of Facebook and Instagram ads is they wouldn't work like at a profitable level if people don't have the whole digital ecosystem in place, like, which part of that is email. Like, because they won't buy the first time, but then you have them on your email list because they signed up on a pop-up when they get your site, and we get them to buy 20 days later because our emails are good. So I'm trying to generate as many good emails. You have to be careful not just to get a lot of garbage emails from lead gen, but to build our email list and SMS list as well. SMS is doing really well for us, and we only started building that out earlier this year. So to do different strategies to get more people in your list, because you then like own that person's email address or phone number, where Facebook and Instagram ads, if someone changes, like California is always strict with privacy laws and they're cracking down on tracking of people. And the reason Facebook works so well is because they can track you really well on the internet. And so to try to acquire as many pieces of customer information that you can, so it's not all just owned by Facebook and Instagram, is our goal. And but I do think, like, no matter what, if Facebook and Instagram stops working as well, like something will replace it. Like before Facebook and Instagram, it was more Google, you know, that was like the thing, like Google ads, which we still do Google ads, but you can't drive as much cold traffic like you can with Facebook. So people are still gonna need to buy, and they're gonna need to get your ads somewhere. So we're always just trying to be on, like, that's why I'll try any platform, because I want to make sure we're on like the cutting edge and on the upside of the next big wave in marketing.
Definitely. I think the danger is, for at least some of the people that we work with, they look at channels individually and they get sucked into isolating the data and only looking at it through one lens, where, like you said, it is an ecosystem and you have to consider like the lifetime value. Yeah, you purchase that data from Facebook. It might not have been massively profitable, but you've got a new customer through the door. They try a product, they tell their friends about it, word of mouth. And then also you're able to remarket to them in a much more cost-efficient way as well.
Yeah, that was actually another huge thing, is like this blended return on ad spend, you know, and not just looking at Facebook in a bubble, not just looking at Google in a bubble, not just looking at email in a bubble. Like, they're all working together, and they're all lying to you in a sense as well. Like, they all tell you what their return on ad spend is, and like we realized with Snapchat and Pinterest, they say you have an amazing return on ad spend, but they're just stealing the attribution of sales from Facebook ads and email. And so, like, tracking your numbers really closely and comparing them to one source of truth, like Google Analytics for Snapchat ads, Pinterest ads, Facebook ads, to make sure that what they're telling you is true. Like, Facebook, funny enough, underreports the return on ad spend, where every other platform overreports it heavily. And so tracking your numbers to get a blended return on ad spend across all advertising spend versus all website and Amazon sales, if you're on Amazon too, and knowing like what, if Facebook's your main advertising channel, what return on ad spend you need in Facebook to be profitable, and knowing that whatever Facebook telling you for the return on ad spend isn't a true ROAS, but knowing what you need, like regardless if it's true or false, to scale.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny actually that lights came through. You look like the second coming of Jesus.
I know. I feel like the second coming of Jesus. Hold on one second.
You must have been taking the Ogee skincare products all of a sudden halfway through.
It's true. That's what Ogee will do. That's the one takeaway I really want people to pull from this live chat is that you should go and immediately buy Ogee from Ogee.com, and you'll be the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, you've just lost that glow now that you've took the product into place. Going back to marketing strategies, so we talked about some of the good things that obviously have worked well for you. Do you ever feel as though there's any missed opportunities? Recently, I've spoke to a couple of e-commerce owners who've said they've wished they would have put more emphasis into things like SEO, even though it's a long-term play. They feel as though if they would have started at the beginning, that might have started to pay off now. How do you feel about that?
Well, with SEO specifically, we were really focused on that in the beginning. And the same thing, like I said before, there's a lot of gurus out there that want to charge a lot of money for SEO. And SEO is really tricky because you can't tell if what they're doing is actually helping for a long time. So yeah, at least with Facebook ads, you can see like, all right, I spent $100, like I got sales from it. But SEO is like, all right, pay me a lot of money to consult for you. And then maybe 6 months down the road, you'll see something happening and you won't know if it was because of us. But so I haven't been that focused. I think SEO depends more on what niche you're in, like the importance of it. Yeah. I haven't been that focused on it, honestly, and I don't feel it's that important for us, but maybe I'm wrong on that. I do wish that we've been more focused on lead generation for emails from the beginning. You know, like Facebook, we're always doing conversion ads, trying to get purchases right away. And you can get leads cheap, and a lot of people aren't doing that anymore because they think it's all about conversion, which is the same I've thought. But now we're going to try a lot harder to get email capture and doing that all along, because that's like a long that brings in like lifetime a lot of revenue if you're adding a lot of new email addresses every day.
How are you doing that? What ads are you serving to those people? What's the incentive to opt in?
We're doing a giveaway, and honestly, like we aren't great at it, but I keep hearing people that I know in the e-com space that are doing really well with it. And we've kind of tried it a little bit, but haven't put enough focus in it. So that is a short-term goal to really get this going for us, and doing a giveaway, like saying on the ad that sign up to win $500 in free products. And the ad then brings them to a landing page where they enter their email and phone number for SMS. So that's the incentive for them to sign up. And then once a month, we do a drawing out of those people to give the products away. And then the next, just keep it kind of ongoing.
What about the quality of those leads? Because one thing I've noticed, this might be quite interesting to you, is when we lead in on the websites with a pop-up, if we go with 10% off, the leads always tends to, there's a very high return in terms of person that goes through to purchase and also engage with the emails. When we've run the sweepstakes, it generates a lot of leads, sometimes much more than the arbitrary discount off the first order, but they're also less likely to convert and also take up storage space inside the account and become unengaged very quickly with the emails. Like, how do you have a plan to mitigate that, or is it still being monitored at the moment?
It's going to be monitored, and try to use the best audiences to show the ads to try to get the best people. But that we did it on a small scale a long time ago, and that is kind of what happened. We got a lot of low quality leads. So the goal is to track it more closely and segment these people out to see what they're actually buying from us. And so I think to do really good targeting with ads to get the people on the list, and then also to really keep a close track of the people that sign up, because I think we didn't track them well enough. So it was like hard to say scientifically what they actually did.
What about things like quizzes for skincare consultations and stuff like that?
We've thought about that a lot, and Hannah on my team would love to hear you saying that, because she's wanted to do quizzes for a while, and I do think they're a good idea. And that could be a really good idea to incorporate into the lead generation, to kind of put them through this quiz to qualify them more.
Yeah, I think Beard Brands is one that does quizzes quite heavily on their homepage. I've seen some brands do it and not really pull it off. It's just like very generic and cookie cutter, the quiz. And then I've seen others that you can tell they've really probably invested a lot of money into it as well. And it's a key part of the funnel, at least on the front end acquisition front.
Yeah, that's like, if we do it, that's the hard thing with, I guess, owning any company is like, there's so many different things you can do and put your time and energy into. And like, we want to do everything really well and not do it like mediocre. So it's like, yeah, deciding where to put your energy into. Like, I love the quizzes, but we have a small team. I have a really good team of people, but we're like small, and it's hard to do everything. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, we touched base on it in the beginning. We mentioned like gurus, being burnt by agencies and freelancers, unfortunately. Like, what are the red flags that you should look out for immediately?
well, I would say that big agencies in general have never worked for us. Like the bigger, more famous agencies for digital advertising, for email marketing, like they charge the highest prices and you get the lowest quality work. But the problem is with the really big agencies, they look so good on the outside. All their marketing is like really sexy, and they have the biggest brands you've heard of, and you're like, oh my God, they're doing Nike. Like, they've got to be great. But I will say, any company that's doing this, a massive, like some of the biggest brands in the world, what that means is they're going to pay no attention to you and devote all their energy to that big brand that they're advertising to you with. And so with these big, like, I just am really down on big agencies, to be honest. Like, they bring you in because they look so good on the outside, and then they assign to your account like someone who has very little experience doing it. We've had much better luck with small agencies and using your intuition, like with the founders of the agency, like you, with your email marketing, like getting to know the people that run the agency and that actually will be spending time with it because they're a small agency and they still work with the clients, is the way to, and using intuition, being like, okay, I trust this person and I know that he's actually going to spend a lot of time in my account. Where the big agencies, they'll have high level people on the calls to suck you in, but then in the end, who's actually working on your account is like an intern that doesn't know what they're selling you.
Unfortunately, I have heard that a lot. It's not something, again, where it goes back to what we were saying before the call. That's the business model we're trying to work against, and also why we're trying to increase our prices to become more profitable and provide a better managed service. Because this is just my personal goals. I don't want to manage tons of people and have that stress of the churn of constant revolving door and, having to hit the sale so hard. I'd rather have really strong relationships with a core group of people who stick with us for the long term. I think that just makes more sense. But different business model completely. I think with services, that is always an issue. The more you want to scale it and grow it, you need to recruit more people, and then the quality of the work becomes diluted, and ultimately everyone ends up unhappy. But yeah, completely different business model altogether.
Yeah, I would say that your agency model is like the ideal agency we would want to work with. Like, we either work with someone like you or try to hire someone in-house to do it, but not big agencies. Like, we want someone like you that doesn't want to just churn a ton of new clients every month to bring in more revenue. Like, we want someone like you that has a limit, that charges a premium because they do a good job, and that you stay with because they do a good job.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree. Let's end things on some like quick fire tactics that people can implement. So I'm going to ask you like 3 questions, and then just try and be very brief with the answers and hopefully be good value to people who are watching. So what are some of the best ways to increase average order value?
Shipping threshold testing, for sure. Like shipping thresholds.
Best way
that way, one point of that, to set it like 15 to 20% above your average order value currently. So if your average order value is $100 now, try setting your free shipping threshold to like $115 or $120.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say similar. Yeah. Best way to increase conversion rates?
Go through your website as a customer many times, checking out on mobile, desktop, different browsers, and see anything that feels weird to you. Try to do it with fresh eyes. Try to get friends to do it with, and refund their orders to, because a lot of times we overlook things that are problematic.
Good answer. Best way to increase customer lifetime value?
Email marketing, customer loyalty program like a Swell. Email, yeah. But email marketing would be number 1 for sure.
Good stuff.
which then you market the loyalty program through email marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always key. And we're just going to end on more of a holistic question. So if anyone's watching, any e-commerce owners or anyone who wants to cut the teeth, new to the game, what advice would you give to people starting out?
To use Shopify, like no question, don't get tricked by people, and to be careful who you listen to as gurus.
Good one. Cool. Well,
don't trust the gurus with Lamborghinis, I would say.
Yeah. So I'll look out for your Instagram ads talk yeah. In that Lamborghini. Cool. How can people contact you, Alex? I know I've been pestering you to get more active on LinkedIn.
They can add me on LinkedIn, and I'll try to check LinkedIn more often and respond.
Cool. Well, I'll leave a tag in the comment section on here, so if anyone wants to follow up and pick your brains a little bit further, they can do. But mate, it's been a pleasure. There's been so much knowledge involved in there, and definitely looking forward to reposting this and sending you some spliced segments so that we can repurpose it and give more people more value. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it a lot.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Adam. It's good.
Yes, mate. Thanks very much.